It is, in fact, my image that sorts these things out, that lets certain of those probabilities in and keeps certain of those probabilities out. I mean, it's probable that with the weather conditions, and it's possible with the weather conditions, it could do any number of things, but it's the image of myself that I determine what today is going to be. At work, there are all kinds of possible things that could happen on Monday. And it is my image that will only allow certain of those possibilities, cum probabilities, to manifest. Because I do not have an image of myself of getting fired, that's impossible for me. It's a possibility, but it's impossible for me. Because I have an image of myself as being fairly strong and powerful and able to withstand any kind of influence of physical being, I'm healthy. And it's possible I could catch some dread disease and die. But it's not likely because of my image. Because of my image. So my image allows certain possibilities and cum probabilities, and doesn't allow certain others. And therefore is a tremendous discerning friend. I don't have to stop and think about it. I don't have to stop and consider it every moment. It's my image that keeps me breathing. I don't have to think, inhale, exhale, exhale. I don't have to tell my heart, beat, 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 beat. My image does that for me because I have an image of being alive. I have an image of being alive. And therefore the possibility of being dead doesn't enter in. Now as I grow older and older and older, or keep stepping out in front of moving traffic, my image may change. I may have an image of being dead, and thus that possibility can happen. My image is a tremendous asset, a tremendous friend, because it creates the platform upon which reality manifests, upon which the illusions become real for me. Image is a wonderful thing to have, for it is a companion, and it defines my reality. It gives me scope of choice, so that I don't have all the things to choose from, but only a certain number. My smorgasbord of choices is big enough. I use my image to hone in and focus in each particular unique area of my life. It's a wonderful asset, a fantastic asset. But it can similarly become a liability, as all assets can become liabilities. It can become a liability. It can become rigid. It can become rigid, made of clay or rock. Unerodable, unchangeable, rigid. And when it does so, it warps my identity. And in warping my identity, it shuts off my self-esteem. And in warping my identity and shutting off my self-esteem, they soon become distorted enough that they no longer exist. And therefore I have no more identity. I have no more self-esteem. All I have left is image. You've seen people like this. You've heard of people like this. Some people, for example, Freddie Prinze, who up-and-coming brilliant career and all that, shot himself. Why? Because his image couldn't support it. Couldn't support the success. He couldn't understand it, and he dried up. And an identity was gone. And there was no esteem. All there was a shell. An empty shell that died long before the trigger was pulled. And others that you've heard of as well. They're all image, all shim-sham, all glitter, with no substance, no reality. It's like a river used to flow there, but now it's a dry riverbed, with only its banks showing, and a few rocks and a few gullies, but just dust and sand. No life, no energy. The rigid, rigid image that would not bend, would not change, kills the identity, dries it up, evaporates it, kills the esteem, dries it up, evaporates it. And what's left? Dust. Hollow, no feeling, no feeling, no laughter, no tears, just an image. It can be your destruction. it can cause you to dry up and blow away. Perhaps even more insidious. More insidious, because if it dries up through the narrowness and rigidity, at least you can wake up to that. At least you can dump some feeling in there. At least you can start to build yourself again. The more insidious situation is when the banks of this river, when this identity is flowing, and the image gets narrower and narrower and narrower, until once was a torrent becomes but a little stream, and what was a stream becomes a trickle, and what was a trickle disappears. Those of you, many of you in the human potential movement metaphysics, can slip accidentally without even realizing it into this state of affairs, where your image is getting narrower and narrower and narrower. It happens like this. You begin, you learn to program, you learn to create your reality, you learn to meditate, and so you do. And as a result of it, you get some wonderful things in your reality, if not anything else, the peace and calm of meditation, the solitude and the centering influence. And out of that, certain positive things start happening, things start going well. And then you start wanting more, as the case is, of course, to be. And the image says no. And the image says no. Because the image says you shouldn't want things if you're spiritual. The image says that you should struggle for things. If something's worth having, it's worth suffering over. The image says to detach yourself from things physical and mystic and those sorts of nature. Hold on to the things spiritual. And the image says you can't have it this easy. And the image says you've got to give it credit to your ego. And the image becomes narrower and narrower, and pretty soon you don't create much in your reality anymore. And then you tell yourself, it's because I haven't cleared everything out. I haven't cleared out everything. I still have my first 2 years to go through. I'm not perfect yet. I still have some anger. I still have some resentment. I still haven't forgiven that third grade person that sat 4 seats behind me. That's why I didn't get what I wanted. That's why the job didn't happen. That's why the success didn't come. That's why the illness didn't go away, because I have this little minute thing back when I was 3 that I haven't yet cleared out yet. And you get narrow and narrow and narrower to the point that I have to have every psychological problem cleared out. I have to have every emotional thing cleared out. I have to be in perfect harmony, perfect balance, perfect centering, with a proper amount of energy, proper amount of enthusiasm, but not too much energy, and not too much enthusiasm, and the proper attitude, but not too much of an attitude. And I need this, and I need that, and I need the other, and I need the other, and I probably do it right anyway. And pretty soon, you aren't creating anything in your reality except mile-long explanations of why you're not perfect, of how you're not perfect, and how you have to work a little bit harder to get just a little bit more perfect, and then you can have your reality. You get locked in. You get locked into a reality that gets narrower and narrower, that basically says, unless you've done everything perfect from the moment you awake to the moment you go to sleep at night, you're not going to get it. Oops, there it was. You had a negative thought, therefore you don't get your reality. Sorry, you don't win. Sorry, you don't get what you want. Oh, you had one negative thought. I heard it. You almost thought a negative thought. Therefore, you don't get this whole reality. Sorry, you lose your job. Your health deteriorates, your family leaves you, you end up on Skid Row. Why? Because you had a negative thought. Because you thought something limited. Because you weren't spiritual enough. Because you weren't perfect. Because you still have a charge on what your sister's best friend did to your best friend in 1943. You see, it doesn't have to be that way. But you narrow yourself down by rationalizing away everything that doesn't work in your life, and in so doing, narrow your image, narrow your scope, narrow the possibilities for yourself. And you then get in the place where you have to be 100% perfect before you can even expect to wake up on time in the morning, to brush your teeth without bleeding gums. You have to have it perfect. And then growth is no fun. Long before then, but growth is no fun. And then you give it up. And then you give it up. And the stream is gone. And you die. Oh, you may live in your body, but you die. about to die. Image can create disorientation, alienation from your own reality and from those around you, disorder in your life, and failure. Image can make you sick and cause you to die in more ways than one. It can be a deadly killer. It can stop every success. It can overpower every technique. It can overpower every choice, every decision, supersede your attitudes and your beliefs. Your image is made up of what you think and what you feel, and if let be, can become omniscient and choke off all life and leave you dead. Physically alive or not, but dead. It can be ultimately your worst enemy. And when you have cleared your blockages, as so many of you have, and if you haven't, you know how to do that whenever you're ready. And if you've given up your payoffs, and some of you still haven't, but you know how whenever you're ready. And if you've cleared out and processed through your attitudes and your beliefs, and you know you're pretty clean, not perfect, but pretty clean, and your reality still isn't working, then you can be pretty sure it's your image. And rather than narrow it down by trying to be more and more perfect, rather than becoming a slave to that vice-like image that's tightening on you and tightening on you and tightening on you until you have no place to go, bust it. Bust the vice. Bust the image. And replace it with a less limited and ultimately an unlimited image. Now, your image, you have an overall one. Yes, you do. One that is sort of the whole river as it ribbons itself through your reality. But you also have pieces of the river that are the distinctive combination of images. Just as you have many identities, so you have many images. You have an image of yourself around success, an image of yourself around failure, an image of yourself around happiness and sadness, an image of yourself around people, around relationships, about being alone. You have an image when it comes to work, you have an image when it comes to career. You have an image when it comes to your growth, to your spirituality, to your evolution, to your human potential. You have an image when you think of yourself as a citizen of the world, and when you look at yourself as part of your locale. They all vary, they all are different. You have an image of yourself as the creative person. You have an image of yourself as a woman and as a man. You have an image of yourself as American, as a Westerner, as a white or a black or a Caucasian or Occidental. You have image of yourself in this regard. All varying, all potentially liberating or lethal. All potentially liberating or lethal. So first it is important, before you consider changing, you need to discover, oh right, I'm going to change that image. What are you going to change? My image. From what? The bad stuff to the good. Well, what is the bad stuff? My image. What is it? I don't know. It's bad. Negative. Limited. I have a limited image of myself. I'm going to change my limited image. That's it. But what is your limited? I have a martyred image. What's that mean? What's that mean? You see, words are vitally important. They're wonderful, marvelous things. You have words. And it's so important that you pay attention to them. There's so many, that's just semantics. Oh, it's just words. Words are so vitally important. I mean, it's the majority of the way you communicate with each other is through words. In our reality, we don't have any words. And in that sense, we can perhaps then appreciate them maybe more than you, who have them so much a part of you. But words are such a powerful, powerful thing. Their sound, their meaning, their interpretation. And whether you think you do, you know the meaning of every word. Even though we were to say, what's happiness and what's joy? What's the difference between the two? Maybe you couldn't articulate it, but a part of you knows. So when we talk of being happy, you have one sensational response. When we talk of being joyous, it's another response. Because one is the fulfillment of need and the other is the fulfillment of preference. There is a difference. There is really no such thing as a synonym. I mean, there are words that are used interchangeably, but they don't mean the same thing. Otherwise, they'd be the same word. If they meant exactly the same thing, there'd be no reason. You function elegantly, whether you know it or not. And therefore, you don't have a word wonderful and another word wonderful that means the same thing. It's the same word. Wonderful is the only word that means wonderful. And happy and joyous and ecstatic and energetic and vibrant and alive and spectacular and splendid and all of these words may have very similar meanings, but they're not the same, or else they'd be the same. So each word is important. And you do know the meaning of every single word. Often you find that we define words an awful lot when we talk with people. We define a lot of words. We always tend to begin therein because so often you forget the definitions. And then when asked, you come back with the you know definition. You know what, you know. So we remind you of the definition, and when we finally do define a term, it's, oh yeah, I knew that. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah. There's never a definition we give that is, I had no idea that's what that word meant. I mean, there are some words you don't know what they mean, but that's only because you haven't looked them up yet or heard them used. But words that you know. It's just you haven't remembered. And therefore to you it can be a tremendous asset, but words can also be a liability. See, the word martyr, when you first hear it, you are a martyr. They can, whoa, yeah, it's terrible. But after a while, it becomes very bland. Oh, that's my martyr again. Oh, gosh, my martyr did it to me again. My martyr did it to you again. It's just my martyr. My martyr this, my martyr that, my martyr did this, my martyr did that, my martyr did the other. Oh, that's just my martyr coming up again. Oh, that's just my better than. Oh, that's just my perfection. Just trying to be, dumb old me trying to be perfect. See, those words, you've used them so much, even, there's words, disgusting words in your language that are real vile, that after you use them, they become nothing. They become so much a part of your vocabulary, they have no meaning, etc. I feel like a piece of whatever, etc. Becomes, at first, it's like, ugh, God, that really has impact on me, But after a while, as I say it over and over again, or refer to myself as a particular orifice of the body, over and over again, it takes on no meaning. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's just a sound. 2 or 3 syllables combined. They mean nothing. And therefore, when you say, I have a martyr image and I'm going to change it into a non-martyr image, what does that mean? You don't know. You don't know. Most of you don't know what your image is. Overall, or specifically. So before you can even consider changing it, you got to discover it. You got to find out what it is. Now, many of you don't want to do that because it might be ugly. It might be painful. But that ugliness and that pain is destroying you. Well, I don't want to know about it then. You just want to be destroyed back? Yeah, well, no, I don't want that either. Can't you take it away? Can you take it away? Yes, you can. So, before we talk about how, and we're going to talk about how you go about actually changing from one image to another. But before we do that, you need to know how to discover what image you have and what image you want. It's like here I am at one cliff, high upon this cliff. Whoa, way down there. I'm standing here. I got to define this place where I am. And I also need to know where I want to get. I want to be on that cliff over there. I'm here. I want to be there. I want to be there, but I'm here. I need to be able to decide that other than geographically. I need to define it, both where I am and where I want to go. Once I have defined it, then I can apply technique. Then I can apply technique to literally move from where I am to where I want to be. But if I don't know where I am, and I don't know where I want to go, then I'm not going to do too much. Technique or no. So before we go to the technique, how is it that you find the image that you have, and how is it that you develop the image that you want? How do you define what you want to bust, and how do you delineate what you want to build? All right? And that's what we'll look at now. The first step to find the image that you currently have is, first of all, focus your attention in the area that you wish to focus. We would suggest don't go after the overall image in the largest sense of scope. Go after specific images. Some of you look at your life now and say, you know what? I am not really succeeding. I mean, I'm programming and I'm processing and I'm doing my metaphysics and I'm creating my reality, but I'm not really aware of it. I can't say for sure that my programming is working. In fact, it appears much more likely that what I program is specifically what I don't get. And it seems like the more I program, the more it doesn't happen. So I need to perhaps work on my image around being a metaphysical person, or my image around programming. Or I may look at it and say, you know, it's working all right. You know, I program and it happens, but what I'm programming for is, you know, it's not out of the ordinary. I'm not programming for lightning bolts and things like that. I just want things to go smoothly, and it is. And that's great, and that's wonderful, and I like that. But what's not working for me is my spirituality. I mean, I hear LAZARIS talking about an embracing, loving relationship with God. God is all that is. And I've been on meditations where I've met a semblance or my configuration of the male energy called God and the feminine energy called Goddess, and that sort of amorphous nothing and something and everything that is all that is. But I can't really say I can embrace it. I can't say I know what that means. I can't say that I really feel that titillating excitement that I hear LAZARIS talk of, and indeed I do see other people feeling. It's not there for me. And when I embrace, I feel my own elbows. So maybe I want to work on me and my spiritual image. Or I look at myself and I realize, you know, I create a lot of adequacy, but nothing really spectacular ever happens. Things just kind of happen in their own time. I may program for great, wonderful things, but they never happen. It's just kind of, when it's time, and when it happens, it happens. Nothing's wrong. No bad news. But nothing's really very good. Nothing's wrong, but nothing's observably right. So maybe I need to work with the image of receiving, letting things happen, letting things in. You know, I want to be much more creative than I am. But, you know, I just don't feel it. You know, I just don't get myself as a creative person. I sit down and write and I draw and I do all this, and I love music and I love watching, but I just don't get it. You know, it just doesn't hit me that I'm a very creative person. Therefore, maybe my image as a creative person is what I want to work with. You know, I'm always a bit under the weather. It's a cold or a flu or an ache here, ache there, a pain there. I'm not sick, but I sure don't see myself as a vibrantly alive, well person. You know, I don't click my heels. I'm not vibrant. I'm just sort of like oatmeal. Yeah. I have an oatmeal reality. It's filling, but it's bland, you know, it's just sort of there. So maybe I want to work with an image of myself as a healthy, vibrant person. Seeing myself as the alive one in my group, the leader rather than the follower, the creative one rather than the one, you know, the doobie. I want to be the one who creates, not the doobie that does what other people create. See, there's a whole lot of areas that I can look at. And maybe in the area of relationship, you know, my relationship is there. That's all I can say about it. I come home at night and he or she is still there. But there's no jazz, you know, there's no vibrancy, there's no kick. And therefore my image in a relationship is maybe what I need to begin with or whatever. So I want to pick an area of my life. Maybe I look at my whole life and I see that it is a Walter Mitty sort of existence, you see. Just sort of letting it happen. I just kind of go through life keeping it from getting too bad. You know? I don't make anything great and spectacular. I just keep the worst from happening. Just get by. Just get through it. Just today, so that I can get to the weekend. Get through another week, so I can get to next month. To become a year older. My life is about staving off the distress, not basking in the miracles. So I want to take my reality that way and look at my image along those lines. But I don't want to go with my image as a martyr, or my image as an unsuccessful person. I want specific areas. Right, then how do you find it? All right. First step is you write on paper. Yeah, you get out paper and a pen and you write. We suggest if you are a typist and you can type that fast, then type. But most people need to write. And make it cheap paper because you're going to write a lot. My special stationery, parchment, purchased when I was on my trip to whatever you say. No. Cheap paper, scrap, old newsprint, whatever, just to write on. Legal pads, cheap ones, cheap legal pads are fine. And you're going to write your heading, me and spirituality, me and my relationship, me and success, me and winning, me and health, whatever it is. Or just the word. Don't have to write me and, just the word. And then you're going to start free association. You're going to start writing. You're going to start writing as furiously and as rapidly as you can. Without judgment, without assessment. Don't worry about your sentence structure, syntax. Don't worry about your punctuation. Don't worry about dangling participles or split infinitives. Don't worry about any of it. Just write. Just write. Spelling, it doesn't matter. Just write. You stay on the lines, it doesn't matter. Just write. Just write. Fast, furious, without reading it, without assessing it, without even paying that much attention. Just let it rip. Let it come out of you. Me and my spirituality. Spirituality, big word. I don't know what it means. Too many letters. I don't know what this means. Spirituality, boy. Feels such a pressure, such a responsibility. I don't want to be spiritual. I'm tired of being so spiritual. It means goody two-shoes and nice stuff like that. Reminds me of Sunday school. And I'm mad at my parents anyway. And they made me go all the time and I just hated it, etc. Algebra and Sunday school and spirituality. Hated algebra. Geometry was worse. What? What does that mean? Don't worry about what it means. It doesn't have to be bizarre. It doesn't have to be strange. But if it is, let it be. To be spiritual is so much responsibility. If I do it, I have to do more of it. I have to be so good. I have to be so right. I have to be so nice. I can't swear. I can't say things wrong. Can't make mistakes. Can't do mistakes. Got to be so pious, so uppity, etc. I don't want to be spiritual. I don't know what else to write. That's all I can think of writing right now. This is dumb and stupid, and I don't see why I'm doing this. But I got to keep writing. I got to keep writing. Come on. Write something more. Write something a little more substance here, a little more meaning. Get a little deeper. Feel a little more. Whatever. I'm writing all this stuff down as fast as I can. Free association. Let it flow. Let it flow. Even if you write, I can't think of anything to write. I can't think of anything to write. I don't want to do this, but I have to, and I should, and I know it's going to help me. But God damn it, I got to write. I can't think of anything to write. I can't think of but then I think of something to write, and I start writing it. Let yourself write as fast and as furious as you can. Keep reminding you of the topic. Go back to the topic. Go back to the topic. Me and mad relationships. Me and mad relationships. Don't talk to me about that. I feel like I've done something wrong. It's always my fault. Always my fault. It's never your fault. It's always my fault. I always am screwing up. I hate this. I hate this. I don't want anything to do. I don't want to talk. I don't want to write. I don't want to do any of this. Just let it flow. Let it flow. Let whatever's there come out. Success. It's boring. I hate success. If I do it, I have to do more. They always expect more of me. They always wanted me to do more. That's just what my mother always wanted. And I hated that relationship. They always expected more. Demanding. All they saw me as is success. Can I ever be a failure? Whatever's there, write it. Let it come out. And it may come out in spurts and then may go away. And I remember when I was a kid, something or other. I don't know why it reminds me of this, but it does. And I'm writing it. Fast and furious, flipping pages, writing as fast as I can. Flipping it. Did I spell that right? Who cares if you spell it right? Write on, read on. Let go. Let it all flow. It may be a page. It may be 2 pages. It may be 20 pages. You may fill up a pad or 2. It may get big and scrawly. It may get real tiny. Let it be what it is. Don't judge it. I wonder what this means. I don't care what it means. Just do it. Just do it at this point. And whenever you're done, and that may be after a paragraph, that may be after a page, that may be after hours, stop. When you're done, stop. I'm done. End. No more. Not another word. That's it. And put it away. For at least an hour, put it away. Many will want to wait till overnight, wait till the next night. But if you're the impatient type, put it away for an hour. Oh, come on, I spent all this time and I could put it away for an hour? Yeah, I'll put it away. Go take a bath, whatever. Go for a walk. Go watch television. Go eat dinner, whatever. Give it an hour to rest and then get it out. And then read it. Read it now, critically. This is when you let it become critical. This is when you evaluate what you've written. This is when you look for what you find, etc. And make notes in the margins. And make notes of references, of contradictions. Boy, here I'm talking about, and here I'm talking about, and the contradictions, page 0. Make notes, crib notes, notes in the margin, etc. Another piece of paper, note things that come out. I repeated this phrase so many times. Boy, note of things as you're evaluating whoever wrote this. Objectively, whoever put this together. Now, it's important that you do it this way. Now, your mind's going to think, oh, well, I can do it in my head. I can sit and think about it. I don't have to write it down. No, don't think about it. Write it. Because if you think about it, you see you've got a critical parent in there that's saying, this is dumb, this is stupid, this isn't going to work, nothing's going to come of it. And besides that, you're going to forget your contradictions. You're not going to see your contradictions, and you're not going to hear your cynicism, and you're not going to hear the anger and the hurt and the loss that's written in those words until you see it on paper, until you go to it and reevaluate it yourself. You're not going to see it, you're not going to hear it. It's just thinking about it, just mulling it over in your head while the television's on or while CNN Sports is playing. I'll just work on it here until the news comes back. Pour into it. This is your image. Give it that respect. Give it that respect. And work with it. Then when you evaluate, you see you're going to see things. You're going to hear things. Oh my God. Look at this. Look what this person's saying. Look at the attitude this person has. And as you do that, that's your first step. To write free-flowing for as long as you write until you're done, and then stop. Well, how much is that? You're done when you're done. Not a moment before, and not a moment after. Well, how will I know? You'll know. Trust yourself. First step, done. Second step. From that mass of writing, which is basically the flow of your identity, it is what you do, it is what you say, it is what you think. When you're not paying attention to what you're saying, what you're doing, and what you're thinking, when you're not being controlling. That is your identity that you've scrawled out on all that cheap paper. Now what you do on still the cheap paper is you write a paragraph describing who you are, describing your identity, vis-a-vis the area you're looking at. Your identity as it relates to the initial subject. A paragraph. My identity as it relates to relationships is one of tremendous fear and tremendous resentment. I really resent relationships a lot. It's one of feeling a tremendous pressure and resenting the pressure that relationships put on me. It's an image of expecting to fail, expecting to fall apart, expecting to get hurt and wrongly blamed. I hold an image of myself in relationship, in fact, as a punisher, someone who wants to hurt the person I'm in love with, hurt the person I'm relating to, before they hurt me. Or you may discover around success that I resent success, and I resent the demand of it, and I want to punish, and I want to strike out, and I want to tell people to get off my back about success. I want to fail. I like to fail. It's more easy to fail. And you may discover around your spirituality that I'm afraid of God. I remember God as a child, a mean, nasty God, who I had to love and had to love and had to love, and who did nothing back to me. Why should I now love God? Why should I now embrace? It'll just be like a sponge. It takes more and more and more of me. I have an image of myself as a resentful person who doesn't really want that spirituality. I write a paragraph. I write a paragraph. A paragraph is defined as 2 sentences or more. I write a paragraph. It may only be 2 sentences. It may be 4 or 5. It may be 10 or 12. It may take up a whole page, but I write a paragraph by indenting the first sentence and then writing. But make it cogent now. Spelling still doesn't count. Punctuation don't worry about. But now you want to make it make sense. It wants to be well thought out, based upon what you've discovered of yourself in your random writing. Now you have defined your image, rough boundaries of your river. Third step. You take what you have written in a paragraph, and this is now when it gets difficult, and you write 1 sentence. Now, it doesn't mean you pick words in the paragraph and try to fit them together in a sentence. This isn't one of those games. How many words can you make out of the word liberty? It's not one of those childish games where you can put it together. No. You take what you've written as your paragraph and you read it, And from that, you come up with one sentence. Now, it may include certain phrases, but it doesn't have to. You come up with one sentence that is your image. And then you condense that sentence, the next step, step 4, to one word. One word that describes that image. Now, though step 1 may take hours to write for some of you, or may take 20 minutes for others, and the paragraph may fit together fairly easily, if not tediously, when it comes down to the sentence, it's going to take you time. And you may write a sentence and have to cross it out and write again and write again. Your paragraph may even have several revisions before you get it just right. You're better off if you have maybe a 5 or 6 sentence paragraph rather than a lengthy page, to condense it to that. And rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it till you get it right. And then the sentence you may have to rewrite several times similarly to get it just right. Again, it doesn't have to include any of the words that is in the paragraph. It's the idea you want to convey. And it may take you longest of all to come up with the word. You may have to rack your brain. You may have to go outside and touch into the earth and grab into that energy and call upon the earth energy to help you. You may need to call upon your unseen friends, to ask your counselors or your higher self, or God, Goddess, all that is, to help you find the answers. You may need to call in a specialist or a helper, in that sense, in the unseen friend similarly, to find out what is there, to bring the sentence and the word into being. You may need to sleep on it overnight. You may need a couple of days for some of you. It's not like the longer it is, the better it is. The more real it is, the better it is. It doesn't matter. You may whip through this in 20 minutes. It may take you 4 or 5 days. What's real is what counts. And you get to that point, and you get to that point, and then you come up with the word. And when you hit the word, it tingles. It tingles. It's right through you. That's it. It tingles and hits you in the gut. And you know you've hit the word. The one word. Here, there's this lovely little phrase that someone wrote at the end of a very lengthy letter, and that phrase was, "I'm sorry this letter is so long. I did not have time to make it shorter." Because it takes time and thought to condense, to condense, to condense. To put together a single paragraph that says everything you want to say is far more difficult than writing page after page after page after page. To take a paragraph into a sentence is a concentration of thought and effort. To take a sentence into a word is very, very focused. It's laser-like in its focus. Now, surely so, you can play at it. You can come up with a paragraph and write a sentence and pick a word like that. Hey, what's the big deal? But if you want to make it real, if you want it to work, if you want it to get you anywhere, then you'll do it for real. And you can come up with the words bad, terrible, cynical, negative, that have no charge to them at all. Or you can come up to words like outsider, like wounded, like clipped, like shut down, like shut off, like blind, like cruel, like punishing, like resenting, like prideful. That are real words that touch you very deeply. If they're your word. And there's your image in the word. This is the gem. And now what you do is you support that gem in a setting. 5-pronged setting. 5 words that end in ing, that supplement that word. Fearing, doubting, resisting, resenting, retreating, recoiling, cringing, spying, snibbling, gossiping, quibbling. Words of this nature, obviously negative, that are the 5 prongs that support this diamond, this gem of your negative image, of the image you want to bust. It's not busted yet, people. It's just finally existing. It's finally been unveiled. It's been there all along, but it's finally been unveiled. And how do you go about building an image that you want to create? Building an image that you want to use instead. It's a mere image. You think of 5 words ending in ing that you'd rather have I don't like cringing, retreating, snibbling, jibing, jabbing. I don't like those words. I want embracing, opening, stretching, laughing, caring. I like those words better. Those are words that I'd like to have associated with me. Okay, fine, so maybe I'll create that setting in which to put in a new gem. And what's the new gem going to be? One word. One word can end in any ending at once. It should probably end in the same ending that's your negative word. So if it's outsider, it should probably be a noun. If it's wounded, it should probably be a similar word ending in ed, past tense. If it's wounding, it should probably end in ing. But a word that replaces that is going to replace that negative one. Maybe it's loving, maybe it's caring, maybe it's embracing, maybe it's laughing, maybe it's wondering. Whatever that word is, whatever it is, let it be real. Let it be real as well. That also brings a tingle. Brings a tingle. I like it. I like it. Now if it's outside or inside, it doesn't really hold much, does it? But another word that would fit, that would work for you. And then you take that one word and you build a sentence around it. Not necessarily using the word. Again, this isn't a game to see how many words or how many things you can put together. This is for real. And therefore, you build a sentence that may or may not incorporate that one word. And from that sentence, you build a paragraph, at least 2 sentences or more. And from the paragraph then, you let it flow into the writing, into the expansive writing. Now, if it's real, when you reach that other side to write, it'll flow like nobody's business. Have you ever noticed when you process something either alone or with other people, when you hit a phony answer, a phony bottom line, there's nothing much to say about it. Well, I realize it's anger at my parents. Okay, well, it's anger at my parents. It's anger at my parents. At my parents, it's anger. That's about all you can say about it. Because it's not real. It's not really there. But when you really plunge down in there and hit the pay dirt, hit what's real, then it explodes like an artesian well. And you're just, oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, I see this, and I see that, and it's this, and it's this, and it's this. Here's another example. Oh, no, here's another. And you can't shut them up. Oh, let me tell you again. Oh, here's another one. Oh my gosh, I saw this, and I saw this, and I see how it fits together over here, and how it fits. And then there was the time, oh my, I see, on and on and on and on and on. You can't stop them. Because they hit pay dirt. And they want to express. So if you come up with the right word, well, on a single word, it may tingle in your spine, sort of the goosebumps, and yeah. And then you expand it to the sentence, and it even becomes more profound, yeah. And then the paragraph gets real exciting, and you don't want to stop. But you must condense it and make it tight and wonderful. And then when you get to the free flow, it's just flowing out of you. My gosh. Oh, this is what I'm so excited. I feel so good. I could just laugh. Oh, the words, I can't write them fast enough. Oh, I wish I had a shorthand. I wish I could. Right. Out and out it'll pour. For a paragraph, for a page, for 2. When you're done, stop. When you're done, stop. Now you have it. An image you want to bust. And an image you want to build. You've neither busted nor built. But now you have the raw materials from which to work.